billionaire didn't get his first-class meal, so he got the entire flight crew fired. Let that sink in. Brandon Kessler didn't yell. He didn't slam his fists on the armrest, demand a refund, or storm off the plane. No. Brandon smiled, that quiet, almost polite kind of smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes, the kind that lets you know someone's not okay, but they're too used to power to say it out loud. It was 6:42 a.m. when he stepped onto Flight 719 at San Francisco International Airport. Private terminal, first class, of course. Kessler didn't fly commercial unless he absolutely had to, and when he did, it had to be flawless. He wore dark jeans, a black quarter zip, and loafers without socks. His assistant had packed his laptop and a protein bar in his leather carry-on, just in case the catering was late. But this was Luxair. Late wasn't supposed to happen. The flight attendant, her name tag read Jordan, crouched slightly, like she was talking to someone fragile. "Mr. Kessler, I just wanted to let you know. Unfortunately, the catering truck for our first-class meals never arrived. We were told it got rerouted to the wrong terminal." Brandon looked at her, blank face, no emotion. "So there's nothing?" he asked, voice soft. "We do have mixed nuts, granola bars, and some items from economy. I can bring you a fruit cup while we wait for the beverage service to start." A pause, then that smile. "It's fine, don't worry about it." Jordan nodded quickly, almost like she didn't believe it herself. "Of course, I'll be around if you need anything." He didn't say another word, just leaned his head back, closed his eyes, and breathed through his nose like he was meditating. Row 1A, window seat, no one beside him. That's how he liked it. Distance. Behind him, two men in suits whispered, one of them nudged the other. "Is that Brandon Kessler, the freight guy? The founder of Intrigo? Yeah, that's him. He's worth like 900 million. The murmurs faded into engine noise as the plane pulled back from the gate. Jordan walked to the galley, biting her lip. She whispered to a colleague, "He didn't freak out, but something about that look. I don't know." At 7:04 a.m., Flight 719 was airborne. Smooth ascent, clear skies. 4 hours and 46 minutes to New Jersey's Teterboro Airport. Kessler didn't check his phone, didn't speak, didn't eat. He just stared ahead, at nothing. But silence isn't always a sign of peace. Sometimes it's the sound right before something breaks. Jordan tried not to look back at 1A, but every 10 minutes her eyes drifted there anyway. Something about the way he sat so still, arms crossed, no blanket, no music, no screen. It felt off, like he was waiting, not for food, for something else. She poured coffee for the elderly couple in 3C and 3D, offered a smile, then returned to the galley where her colleague, Aisha, leaned against the counter, arms folded. "He's still not eating?" Aisha asked. "Nope." "Did he say anything?" "Just smiled. You know that rich people smile? The one where it's polite, but you feel like you just got told to go to hell?" Aisha laughed under her breath, but it was tight, forced. "Man like that doesn't yell. They just make phone calls." Jordan blinked. "Yeah? That's what I'm worried about." Meanwhile, Kessler adjusted his seat, folded his hands, and looked out the window. The clouds below looked like a sheet of dirty cotton. His mind, though, was sharp, moving. He wasn't thinking about the fruit cup. He was thinking about a contract he just signed with a European shipping firm. A contract that demanded precision. The same precision he demanded from everything around him. The missed meal wasn't the issue. It was the symbol, the crack in the surface. And if there was one thing Kessler couldn't tolerate, it was cracks. 32 years building a company from nothing, sleeping in his car the first year, skipping birthdays, ending a marriage, firing friends. He gave up everything for the idea that systems should never fail. So why did this one just fail him? Across the aisle, a man in a blue suit pulled a fleece blanket up to his chin and sighed. Kessler's eyes moved slowly, took in the crew, the movement, the rhythm of the flight. He wasn't judging them. Not yet. He was measuring. In the galley, Jordan checked the cabin one more time, then leaned against the wall with her eyes closed. "You think we're okay?" she asked Aisha. "Yeah," Aisha said. "He said it was fine." "Yeah, but it's that kind of fine." But sometimes it's not the storm that gets you. It's the stillness right before, when you let yourself believe it might pass you by. The descent started just after 12:15 p.m. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our approach into Teterboro. Local time is 3:18 p.m. and skies are clear. We'll be on the ground in approximately 20 minutes." A small cheer went up in economy. Passengers stretched, tapped at their phones, and unbuckled early like they always do. In first class, nothing moved. Brandon Kessler reached under his seat, pulled out his carry-on, and rested it on his lap. Slowly. No urgency, no visible irritation, but his eyes had changed. Focused now, cold. Jordan noticed. She'd brought him water 20 minutes earlier. He hadn't touched it. Now his posture had shifted. Not relaxed, not tired, but ready. Aisha whispered, "I think he's about to say something." Jordan replied, "He hasn't said a single word since takeoff." Exactly. The plane touched down at 3:37 p.m. with a soft bump, rolled smoothly to its private terminal, and parked. Seatbelt lights went off. Cell phones came alive. Kessler didn't move right away. He reached for his phone, pressed a number, then held it to his ear. No expression. Just waiting. One ring, two. Someone picked up. "This is Kessler. I need the Luxair operations director. Now." No one else heard the words. They just saw a man in 1A making a call, like any other executive. But Jordan watched him through the slit in the galley curtain. The way he leaned in slightly, the way his jaw moved when he spoke. Short sentences, flat tone, measured. At 3:44 p.m., the crew door opened. Passengers gathered their things and exited row by row. Smiles, thank yous, polite nods. Kessler stood, picked up his bag, walked down the jet bridge without looking back. Jordan sighed in relief. "Guess we're good." But Aisha was already staring at her phone. You might want to see this." "What is it?" She held out the screen. A group message from their union contact. The subject line read, "Effective immediately, crew suspensions pending review." Jordan blinked. Her heart dropped. "No way." Aisha nodded. He made a call. But the worst part wasn't getting blindsided. It was realizing someone had already decided your fate before you even left the cabin. By 4:15 p.m., Brandon Kessler was already in the back of a black Lincoln Navigator, headed toward his meeting in Jersey City. The driver said nothing. The car was silent, except for the occasional buzz of Kessler's phone. He wasn't scrolling social media. He wasn't checking email. He was writing names down. Not just Jordan and Aisha. He didn't know their names yet, but he would. He had already spoken to the Luxair operations director, then the CEO, then the chair of the parent company. All of them answered on the first ring. "You're a partner airline," Kessler had said. "You use my company's logistics hub for over 60% of your cargo transfers. If I pull that account, your Q4 projections fall apart. This isn't a threat. It's math." There was a pause on the other end. Then, "What do you want us to do?" Kessler didn't hesitate. "I want every crew member from Flight 718 grounded by end of day. I want a report on what system failure led to the catering error. And I want a statement of apology, in writing, by 6 p.m. EST. Click. Call ended. In the back of the plane, Jordan had just walked off. She was scrolling her phone, about to send a voice message to her boyfriend, when a notification hit. "Access revoked. Luxair crew portal." She tapped again. Error. Again. Denied. She looked up at Aisha, who was standing next to the terminal window, watching passengers collect luggage. "Did you get locked out too?" Jordan asked. Aisha didn't answer. She just showed her screen. Same error. Moments later, their supervisor approached. Eyes wide, clipboard clutched to his chest like a shield. "Hey, I don't have all the details yet, but apparently something came down from corporate. You're both temporarily suspended. They said it's about a catering issue?" Jordan felt her stomach twist. "You're kidding me." "I wish I was. It's not just you. It's the whole 718 crew." "But we didn't do anything," Aisha said, arms raised. "That was a third-party catering truck. We have zero control over that." "I know," the supervisor replied, voice low, "but this came from above me, way above me." But when decisions are made in boardrooms, the fallout doesn't land on executives. It lands on people just trying to do their job. By 5:12 p.m., the Luxair employee group chat had exploded. Screenshots, panic, a flood of "anyone know what's going on?" messages. Jordan stared at her phone, hands trembling slightly, as voice notes started popping in. Just heard from dispatch. Flight 718's whole crew suspended. No warning, no process. Heard it was that Kessler guy, the CEO dude. What did we even do wrong? Forget his caviar? Jordan shut her eyes. Her throat burned. She wasn't new. She'd been flying 6 years. Late nights, rough landings, canceled holidays. Once, she'd missed her grandmother's funeral because a supervisor begged her to cover a sick call, but none of that mattered now. Aisha sat next to her at the corner of a bench in the employee lounge. She was quiet. Too quiet. "They're going to try and blame us for something," she finally said. "Watch. They'll call it a service failure. Say we didn't handle it with enough class." Jordan scoffed. "We smiled. We apologized. I offered him a damn fruit cup." Aisha nodded slowly. "And you know what he saw? Weakness." There was a long pause. Then Aisha added, "Men like that don't raise their voice. They raise the floor underneath you so fast, you don't even realize you're falling." Outside, the sky was starting to turn orange. Rush hour had already begun. The city moved on like nothing happened. But inside the lounge, Jordan felt stuck, like she was waiting for someone to pull her out of a hole she didn't even know she'd stepped in. Then her phone lit up again. An email from HR. Subject, notice of temporary separation. Her hands tightened. She didn't even open it, just stared at the subject line like it might rewrite itself. Aisha leaned over. They didn't even have the guts to call. Jordan finally spoke. "I didn't sign up to be humiliated for a missing sandwich." "No," Aisha said. "You signed up thinking you'd be respected. That's on us." But sometimes, the real punch in the gut isn't the hit. It's realizing how fast people forget the ones who kept the whole thing running. By 6:47 p.m., the story had legs. A business traveler named Corey Reams, row 2C, had posted a thread on X, formerly Twitter. It started with, "Was on flight 718 today. CEO Brandon Kessler didn't get his first-class meal. Crew apologized. He smiled, said, 'No problem. Just found out he got them all fired. Not a good look.' 10,000 retweets in under an hour. News aggregators grabbed it next. Headlines followed. CEO fires entire crew over missed meal. Billionaire meltdown or quiet power play. Kessler's no-nonsense image takes ruthless turn." At Intrigo headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, PR scrambled to respond. Their spokesperson, Calvin Drake, gave a flat statement to a local reporter. "We are aware of the situation and cannot comment on personnel matters related to Luxair, an independent service provider." But that wasn't enough. By morning, stock analysts were whispering about reputation risk. Former employees started posting on LinkedIn. One woman wrote, "Kessler once told a junior manager to handle your personal tragedy on your own time after she lost her brother. This story doesn't surprise me." The comments flooded in. Some sided with him. Service these days is a joke. Maybe if more execs did this, companies would wake up. But others were outraged. All this over a missed snack? Imagine living your life with that much entitlement. Meanwhile, Jordan sat at her kitchen table in Newark, trying to write a statement. Aisha had suggested going public. "People need to hear it from you," she'd said, "before they twist the story." But Jordan wasn't sure. She didn't want to be the face of a meltdown she didn't cause. Her boyfriend, Miguel, stood behind her, reading over her shoulder. "You want my honest opinion?" he asked. "Yeah. This guy, he lives in a world where no one tells him no. You did nothing wrong, but he didn't like being reminded that he's still human, that even he can be disappointed. You shook something in him, and now you're paying for it." Jordan looked at him. "That's messed up." "Yeah, but the world only changes when regular people speak up, not when they stay quiet and hope someone else fixes it." She didn't answer right away. She stared at the screen at the blinking cursor and then slowly started typing. "My name is Jordan Briggs. I was one of the flight attendants on flight 718. But once the truth starts leaking out, it's no longer about what happened on a plane. It's about how far people are willing to go just to feel in control." 2 days later, Brandon Kessler stood in front of a room of investors in Midtown Manhattan. Hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, a sea of gray suits and tight smiles. He was there to present quarterly numbers, but that's not what anyone cared about. A hand went up mid-slide. "Brandon," a woman in the back said, "before we move on, is it true you ordered the termination of an entire flight crew over a catering error?" He paused. Another voice followed, sharper this time. "I think the board deserves transparency. That story's everywhere now. Even Morning Blend ran it. You've got people talking boycott." Brandon looked at the screen, then slowly clicked through to the next slide. "Do I regret what happened? No. I regret that it became public before it was properly contextualized." That drew a few frowns. He kept going. "I made a call because the system failed. I treat failures seriously. That's why we're outperforming projections by 14%, while our competitors are laying people off." "Respectfully," someone muttered under their breath, "that's not the same as leadership." Kessler heard it, chose not to react. But outside that boardroom, the tone was changing. Jordan's video had been shared over 1 million times. Calm, clear, and honest. No accusations. Just the truth. "We were professionals. We did our jobs. We showed grace. But sometimes, grace isn't enough when someone's used to everyone bowing down." She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just told the story. A former Luxair pilot stitched her video and said, "Pilots get the glory. Attendants take the hits. Enough is enough." Another crew member from a different airline posted, "Jordan handled a billionaire better than most of his board probably does." In small towns and big cities, people were watching, listening, talking about respect, about power. And somewhere in Connecticut, one of Kessler's assistants quietly submitted her resignation. She didn't leave a reason. She didn't need to, because this wasn't about fruit cups or flight rosters anymore. It was about something deeper. The moment we decide that status doesn't excuse cruelty, that quiet abuse is still abuse, that leadership doesn't mean control, it means responsibility. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply not look away. We all have moments where we could choose to speak up or stay silent. So here's the question. When it's your turn, which one will you pick? If this story moved you, share it. Talk about it. Speak up for the people who've been told they don't matter, because the only way things change is if we demand better, together.